Welcome to the country, where we do country things, and today we're in the grit and gravel greenhouse. Going to give you a look at our Dutch buckets here on our aquaponic system. Let me get this camera turned around and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so we're starting off here with tank number 4, and that's where all the water for the Dutch buckets is coming from. We've got a standpipe there in the corner that we're using to feed our Dutch buckets. And the reason we're using a standpipe is because we want to draw the water from the top of this tank instead of from the bottom. That way we don't fill up our Dutch buckets with a lot of solids and potentially clog up our feeder lines that's feeding the buckets themselves. So we want to use the cleanest water that we can, and that's going to be coming from the top of the tank rather than the bottom. So we'll get down here and we'll start looking at the buckets themselves and how we got them set up. We have tomatoes in all these buckets and different varieties. And I'll go through varieties later and let you know exactly what I got growing in here. But for now, we're just going to talk about how they're set up. So this year what we've done is used a 4-inch drain to waste line. Now this is a thin wall pipe. You don't need the thick wall stuff because you're not using any pressure on this. This is all gravity fed, being fed from the sump tank, pumped to the fish tanks, and then everything's on one pump. So this system runs on one pump. Everything's being gravity fed back to the sump tank. So really efficient way to move your water around using gravity instead of having to pump it around. So the bucket themselves, again, growing in just nothing but gravel. This is just regular old gravel that you find in the country roads or on the country roads here in western Oklahoma. Just as long as it's pH neutral, it's going to work fine for you. The thing about this gravel is it's recyclable. You can use it year after year after year. You're never going to wear it out. You're never going to break it down. All you got to do is store it at the end of the season in some buckets, or I use feed sacks. Just keep some old feed sacks and put it in that for the winter. And then clean it up in the springtime, put it back in these buckets and grow you another tomato or whatever you're growing in it. And it's going to last you a lifetime. So the buckets, the way I got them set up, these are 4-gallon buckets here. 3/4 inch drain line going into a 4-inch drain to waste line that goes back to the sump tank. The drain is actually 2 inches up from the bottom, and the reason I did that is because if I ever have a power outage of some kind and these buckets lose flow, these plants are going to have a little bit of water reservoir down here to kind of hold them over till you get the flow back. So you always want to leave yourself a little bit of water for these plants just in case you do lose flow. You're not going to lose all your plants. And it gives the solids a place to go, so that if there is any solids that come through here, they're going to work their way down and just fall down in the bottom of this and just be captured right here, so you're not sending solids back to your sump tank and then moving it around for the fish. So you're filtering your solids that way really good and keeping your water good and clean for your fish. So we come down here, we got 10 buckets here that are 4-gallon. You come down to the center of the greenhouse here, and the buckets are going to switch from 4-gallon to 8-gallon. And I did that because I'm going to put a cucumber in with these tomatoes. The cucumbers need a little bit warmer weather to sprout, so I don't have them in there right now. They're in the NFT system right now, getting ready to sprout, and then I'm going to put them in here. But I needed the extra room just in case the root balls get pretty big in here and they liable to clog up the system with 2 plants. I've had trouble with these 4-gallon buckets and the tomatoes actually clogging up the bucket when the root mass gets real big and slowing down the flow, or actually blocking this drain. So if you're gonna put 2 plants in one bucket, I think it's going to be fine. We haven't really done it before, so we're going to experiment with it. But you need to think about stepping up to a bigger bucket so you can contain the root mass of 2 plants rather than 1. So we come down here and the tomatoes are already flowering, most of them. Here's one that's got some good flowers on it, getting ready to put some tomatoes on. We'll come over here and give them a shake just to make sure they get pollinated. There's no wind in here, so the plants need to be given a little bit of shake to release that pollen to pollinate those flowers. I'm going to come down here to bucket number 20 and show you that the bucket on the end, 40 feet away, It's getting the same amount of water as the first bucket, so it's flowing real good right there. Doing really well. Now the next video we're going to do is going to be on the NFT. So I've shown you all the commonly used methods for aquaponics and hydroponics. The flood and drain grow beds, gravel beds, the constant height gravel beds, the deep water culture with the double stack grow beds, and then we've got the nutrient film technique going, which I'm going to show you next time. So since I've already done a video on the double stack grow beds, I'm going to come over here and show you how well the stuff's doing in it. So we'll walk around over here and we'll use the one closest to the south or closest to the north, which seems to be growing the best for whatever reason. This is a passive solar greenhouse. You can see where the sunlight is going to not get all the way to the north wall. So it's going to help keep this greenhouse as cool as possible in the heat of the summer. You don't need the sunlight coming in from the north, because you know the sunlight mainly going to come from the south. So you block that north side off, and it keeps the sun from hitting that metal and getting too hot. So we're hoping that helps keep our greenhouse cool for the season. And this one seems to be growing better since it's closer to the north. It may not be getting as much sunlight, or it may not be heating up as much. I'm not really sure, but it seems to be doing just a little bit better than the one that's on the furthest one to the south. So don't know really the reason behind that, but that's why we do these things, to kind of experiment and see what's working for us and what's not, so we can repeat it if it does, or we can eliminate it if it don't. So I've got tomatoes in here, of course. We've got our onions in here, lettuce in here. These right here are a West Virginia heirloom tomato called Hillbilly. I'm a West Virginia hillbilly myself, so I wanted to try these tomatoes this year. Since we've got a lot of vertical height, more than we ever had before, I do want to do a few heirlooms just to kind of try them out. Now these are an indeterminate type, so they're going to be on a single vine, and they're going to be growing up towards the top of the greenhouse. And we'll have to put them on a string, trellis them up, and we'll probably have to get on a ladder to harvest them or whatever. But we only have a few, so it ain't like I'm having to do a lot of work with these. The other ones that are the indeterminates and the determinates that I have in the Dutch buckets, they're not going to be trellis. They don't have to be trimmed for suckers. You don't have to put any cages around them or do anything with them. They're just going to come up and grow out. They're a hanging basket varieties, or they're windowsill varieties, or they're weeping varieties, and they're low maintenance. They're hybrids, so they're disease resistant, and we don't have to worry a lot about keeping it and maintaining it and spending a lot of time doing that. You know, we're busy out here. We're always doing things and getting work done, so we need to be able to let these tomatoes go and not have to mess with them too much. But with these heirlooms, they do require a little bit more work. But like I said, I don't have very many in here, so it's not going to be that big of a problem. Come down here and look at a couple other things. This is a tomato called Rapunzel. It is a indeterminate, and you can tell I'm taking all the suckers off right in here in between the leaf nodes. All the suckers are going to come off of this, so it's going to be on a single vine. I'm going to have to get this strung up here in the next few days. It's starting to really get tall. This is a longevity spinach. 3 or 4 different types of spinach in here this year. Longevity spinach here. This is a water spinach right here. This is just some lettuce. I harvested some lettuce out of here the other day, so I put a tomato in its place. And that's the thing about this. Once you have this system built out and operational and flowing, there's really no work to it. I'm not having to do any type of weeding or watering or any kind of work to this stuff. All you got to do is just pick and plant once you got it done. So I pulled some lettuce out of right here, and when that was done, I just took a tomato that I got started in the NFT over there. I just took it out of there and placed it right there in the spot where the lettuce was, and just keep on going. So this right here is a red Malabar spinach. It's looking a little yellow, so I'm going to add some I'm gonna add some iron to the system. If you got yellow leaves, that's a lot of times that's either some nitrogen or some iron deficiency. I don't think it's nitrogen, since I have a pretty good level of nitrites in the system. So everything else seems to be perfectly green. So I might be needing a little iron. So I'll just put a little iron in. That's something that you need to supplement that you're not going to get from your fish or your fish feed. So anyway, there's a look at what's going on right now. Next video is going to be the nutrient film technique, where I'll show you how we're using some of our dead space and normally space that you couldn't grow in, and making it productive and growing a lot of plants in it. So appreciate you watching the video today, and we'll see you next time.